Everybody, thanks for joining this latest episode of the PR Bunker. Had a great conversation recently with my friends from the Center on Rural Innovation. If you don't know what these folks do, please check them out at ruralinnovation.us. They are an incredible nonprofit that brings innovation, technology, jobs, and really important conversations to the corners of our country. Incredible work in various areas where you wouldn't expect it. Not downtown Boston, not downtown New York. We're talking in rural areas of the country doing incredible work. So I had a great conversation with my contact there, Emily Wood, and all the work that they did recently with an event that they had where some great conversations were had about the organization, their impact that they're having on the country in this particular topic. This time around talking about AI and its future in rural, which was fantastic. So do yourself a favor, listen to this episode, check out Corey. Look at their work, check out the news and resources that they have. And if you feel like you're looking to jump into this world in some way, shape, or form, support them, absolutely reach out. But enjoy the episode. Thanks. Welcome, my friends, to the PR Bunker podcast. I am your host, Don Martelli. Welcome to the Bunker. I have a great connection, friend, colleague in the trenches with me today. Emily, good to see you from the Center on Rural Innovation, which is a bit of a mouthful, but you're doing some cool shit. So I'm glad you are here. Love the work that you all do. Say hello and tell us about the center.
Hi, I'm glad to be here. I'm excited to talk to you about Corey, as we are known, in addition to the Center on Rural Innovation, because it is a mouthful.
That's right.
So Corey is a C3 nonprofit. We are headquartered up in the Upper Valley of Vermont, but we work across the country with rural communities to help build their tech economies. The tech economy and the growth of it since 2008 has helped tremendously metro areas, right? And it's left behind rural economies and rural communities. So they have not had the same benefits as, big cities like Boston and places like Kendall Square where we're based. And so what Corey does is we work with these smaller communities to help bring, the tech economy to them. And so that people who want to work in high paying, good jobs in today's economy can live where they want to live and stay, close to home if that's the case. So we work with like 40 communities across the country, and we also do research, and we help rural startups really succeed, and we're doing all sorts of great stuff, and it's a really exciting time to be part of our organization.
Love it. So how long has the organization been in place?
So we have been around since 2007, so that's 8 years now.
Yeah, okay.
And we've had some really tremendous growth over the past couple of years. And we're looking forward to more. So
I bet you, like, even in the 8-year time frame, a lot has changed in technology, innovation. You and I have had conversations about AI and how things have exploded in recent years. And I think you've had a recent event somewhere in our region that might have talked about AI. But how long have you been with the organization? One, two. How much has innovation as a category changed in the time you've been there? And then lead me into this wonderful event you put together.
Yeah, so I've been with Corey since 2023, and we have, I think the technological landscape is always changing, but obviously with AI over maybe the past year, I feel like even a year ago, my team and I were like, AI, in the comms profession, no, we write better than AI, that kind of thing. But just think how much it's exploded and how much people now use it and understand it. And this is just another technological shift that is happening. It's no different than the smartphone or the internet in the 1990s. At this point in time, what Corey is trying to do is make sure that, once again, rural doesn't get left behind in AI. And so one of the things that we're really leaning into now is how do we make sure that rural communities and their leaders and their residents have access to, the same types of training and the same type of resources that folks can leverage AI to make things easier, to build businesses. We have a great story from a rural founder in North Carolina who won our pitch event last year, who said, she's able to develop and build coding for her app much faster and much cheaper, and it's harder for her to find the talent to do coding that now AI can do that for her, or at least help move it forward much faster and lighter lift. And so that's one of the things that Corey is really looking to incorporate in our work when we work with rural communities and startup founders is how can they leverage AI and make sure that they are part of the conversation and actually leading the effort to develop AI that's inclusive for
Mm,
everybody.
mhm.
And so last week, Corey held our national conference out in North Adams, Massachusetts at the beautiful Mass MoCA, which in and of itself was quite a blast to be able to be in that beautiful space. But we had leaders, rural and tech leaders and economic development leaders from across the country join us for a day to learn more about sort of things to think about when using AI, how to incorporate AI into their economic development and their workforce development programming, as well as how entrepreneurs and startup founders can use it, as well as sort of figuring out where are the gaps, where do they need help, and really adopting it more across the board.
Mm, interesting. So it feels to me it's like it's very grassroots, right? Because it's you talk about rural accessibility can be a problem, but you're also on the other end of the other side of the coin talking about these advancements in technology. To your point that you doesn't have to take 3 weeks to build a website or 3 months. It's literally within a half hour because you have these no build code platforms to be able to do it that are based on AI. So, like as you think about how far the organization has come, your work within it, in reaching these literal rural parts of the country, and what's next? I mean, AI is not going away at all. You folks are at the epicenter of this, pushing this agenda forward in a really positive way to create opportunities. I mean, where's it going?
It's a great question. Does anyone really know the answer to that, Don?
No, because if we did, we'd be millionaires.
I mean, I don't think we do either. I think we are all sitting here going, this is a really important technological development, but there's definitely reason to have some apprehension around it too,
Sure,
right? And
sure.
so I think all of us are sitting here going, what exactly does this mean for the workforce? What does this mean
Yeah,
for technology?
valid.
What does this mean for communities? What Corey's
Mm,
definitely trying to do, though, is that unlike in past, like I said, past technological shifts and advances, is rural's been left behind. So how are we making
mm.
sure that they're at the center, that they are leaders in this technological shift? Because it does provide so much, it can provide so much capacity for folks who otherwise don't have access to it. And those, unfortunately, is primarily in rural locations.
Yeah. What were some of the highlights from the event? Some of the conversations, kind of key takeaways.
It was a lot.
It sounds pretty dense, like a
It
lot of
was.
like
I mean, we talked
complicated.
everything from like skilling and sort of what is needed to have a workforce that is able to use AI,
Mm,
to how our communities who are building their tech ecosystems and developing partners, how can they leverage AI to help maybe do their jobs better, or what is needed to help their residents access these types of jobs, to, some data driven research presentation. I mean, it was a little bit of everything. And I think we did I think everyone who presented and like joined us really had represented a really nice overview of all of our components of our work. So it was just a really great sort of holistic day, as whereas everyone had some chance to really think about some new ways of like thinking about AI, that it's not just, LLMs, right?
yep.
How do we actually leverage this so it's useful and actually producing some positive results?
Excellent. Well, one of the things I love to explore on this podcast is like how the people that I interview got to where they are. Clearly, rewind the clock from your college age self. You probably weren't thinking about working in a nonprofit space in AI in some way, shape, or form. Give us your story. Like, how did you get to where you are today?
So, I will say I was interested in nonprofits in college.
Okay. What drew you? What drew you to the nonprofit space?
I think, but the trick is here is I was also really interested in politics, but I didn't want to actually be in politics, though that changed too. I have a very weird, like, I had no
We
direction.
all have weird backgrounds. It's
Right, right?
fine.
You're like, no direction. So
No.
I mean, I like substance. I like, working on things that could make the world better type of like idealism, right? And I think that's really easy when you're in your 20s. I still believe that now, many years later.
Yep.
But
Couple
so I
years later.
started off, I actually went to grad school, and my master's is like in professional politics. Like it's a political science degree with a concentration like how to run campaigns. Cause I was like, I'm going to go work on campaigns. And then I did a couple local campaigns and I said, enough of that. I'd like to have a life. And then I just lucked out. I landed at a think tank in Boston where I sort of found out what nonprofit comms is. I was like, look, I have a lot of these skills. It's very similar to political campaigning, but with better hours. And, I was sort of able to leverage that experience to really sort of understand, the nonprofit sector, civic players, that kind of thing. And it's just been the best piece of career advice I got from somebody was always work someplace that is interesting.
Mm.
At least interesting to you. And so I
Mhm.
very much have leaned into that. And because I love public policy and systems change work, I've landed at places doing workforce development and philanthropy and civic engagement on college campuses, as well as doing comms for probably the wonkiest place, which was outcomes oriented contracting for governments.
Wow.
So I'm very much in this weird, wonky space. I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to this stuff. But I also believe, I think what drives me to stay in comms in these areas is that it's important that people know that these things can be improved and that people
Mhm.
are trying to make things better. And like, yeah, it's direct service is so critically important, but when you're looking at the systems level stuff, that really can have an impact on individuals. And so it's been really interesting, and it's a fun little challenge to figure out how to get something super wonky like rural economic development or outcomes oriented contracting into like the public dialogue. Really saying, this is how we're creating impact. These are these really interesting stories. So yeah, I've spent my entire career doing nonprofit communications and marketing, and it's been fun, but it's also really exhausting because these are not easy things to be talking about and getting people interested in.
Correct. Correct. Have you ever thought of running for office yourself?
God, no. I did when I in my 20s, someone's like, "You should do it." And I was like, "I'm not knocking on people's doors." Like, I mean,
Nice.
that's my limit. Like, I'll do it for other people, but I won't do it for me. What's the line? You should know this. Like, comms people are terrible about talking about themselves,
1000%.
right?
1000%. Yep.
It hangs over me constantly, and that's why I will never be like a
Love that.
politician because I can never talk about myself.
Well, here's a Stitch theme. So you briefly touched upon comms and what you love about it, and obviously, the PR Bunker is a communications agency. I talk about comms all the time, and this is my business. And you work in a very complicated space. It's a nonprofit, but the things you're doing, the work you're doing, can be complicated. You're bringing this technology and these conversations into Main Street America, not Kendall Square or not downtown Manhattan, New York City. Um, in your sort of your world now, talk to me through like your process or your thought process around just the importance of communications and content development and storytelling in the time when I can go to ChatGPT, Gemini, and say, "Give me a story on how the Red Sox should win the World Series today." So give me a story. But us comms people feel like we still want to own that story. For you, what's your opinion on that? How do you feel like Corey in your works? How do you still own that story?
A great question. I haven't necessarily thought about that too deeply because I'm still so entrenched that we do it better than LLM, right? We understand, like, my value to anything is like, I understand what that specific
Mm,
aspect of a story is that will
mhm,
really resonate with, a policymaker or some other a community leader or whoever we're trying to reach our audiences. And I don't think AI is quite there yet. Like,
mm.
yes, probably do a really great overview because it crawled from our website and we have these great stories on our website and they can say, oh, this really interesting thing is happening in, Portsmouth, Ohio or Cape Girardeau, Missouri type of thing. But they aren't going to know who to go talk to who actually has a really, really interesting story. And that's
Mhm.
how we can like elevate it. And I think those types of stories are really, an expertise both from people on the ground as well as our staff and leaders are, what makes communications effective. I talk a lot about sort of elevating our expertise because that's what we have. And I don't think it can be replaced by AI. Not just because AI still can't, what's one of the things going on when you ask it, how many R's are in strawberry, it keeps saying like there's two.
Yeah, yeah.
But like I said earlier, I think what's important is the lens. Like we just,
Yeah.
organizations, content you develop yourself is unique, and you just understand the sort of that special sauce that makes an organization sing and really resonate. That AI don't think will ever really replace.
No, you nailed it. I think every organization the work that they do, whether for profit, nonprofit, what drives organizations to do what they do is the heart, right? It's the intention and the impact you're looking to make, especially with nonprofits and folks like you. And you can have, AI has a brain of some sort. It has technology that produces. I'm not sure if it's a brain like ours, but it has something that moves the mode forward. But it doesn't have the heart. It just doesn't have that emotionality to it. And clearly, in your work, when you're bringing opportunities to, middle of nowhere to drive innovation and jobs. It's not just, a platform, but you're creating opportunities for growth and having people that might work in a mill town that think that our innovation is that we have two car dealerships in our town now versus actually thinking about advancements with technology and AI to automate particular things in the community. So I'm certain that the impact that you've seen in your work with Corey in those communities probably what drives the work and it forces you, gets the team to think about this event you had and have these conversations to explore it even and push it into the farmland, to Main Street, to the other areas that need it.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things Corey does, which I really find refreshing, that as a nonprofit, that we've articulated very clearly, that one of the things we do is narrative shift.
Mm,
And I think all nonprofits do that, but not with such intentionality. And that narrative shift is getting the rest of the country to understand that, like, really interesting things can happen in rural, and that you can do some of the stuff, or the same things that happen in, urban areas can happen in rural communities. We just need to provide them just as the same resources and create equitable and inclusive systems that benefit both urban and places. But that narrative shift aspect is so, I think, helps us as an organization, especially with comms and marketing, really be intentional about the types of messages that we are, thinking of sharing out, the campaigns, the and even sort of thematically how I think about our strategy is very much given sort of that, is rooted in this narrative shift sort of initiative that we have, that this is part of the story, that we are really dedicating resources and time to making sure that we are elevating these really incredible, stories from rural communities that may otherwise not have a national platform.
yeah. Well, what's that process look like? Say, I am a business owner in North Dakota somewhere, and I somehow see this on social media, read an article, and I'm thinking differently than my community. What's conceptually I know what Corey does, but like how is the sausage actually made? Like how does the idea and the concept actually get into these rural communities? And the impact. You and I have talked about it, but how does that work? Somebody hears this and wants to, what we need the help from Corey. What's that process look like?
Yeah, we want them to come and talk to us. We have this great staff of folks who work directly with our rural communities to
Mm,
develop strategies, help them assess whether or not it's even feasible, if like this is the right pathway for them to go down, and then figure out what the strategy is. Like, what partners do they need to be involved with and in their community? Who needs to be at the table?
mm,
Do they have the funding and, sort of all the other components of a really healthy ecosystem to like support this? And so, we hope that they contact us if they see this, and we do that. We have lots of people out across the country who come to us and saying, "We love what you guys do. How do we work with you?" And
mm,
then on the flip side is some of this is also like we have a lot of great, foundation partners who are funding us to help, find communities that can help, that may not have been thinking about building a tech economy or really focusing their efforts on it, to help work with them to say, "Hey, actually, guys, you have all the right components. Let us work with you. Let's find this. Let us bring this new economic development approach and help you and guide you through that." So
great.
it's a little bit both inbound and outbound type
Yeah.
approach. But these are long-term projects. This doesn't
Mm,
not going to happen overnight, right? Like this, and like I said, big systems change stuff, rebuilding economies is huge work. But we want them to be hopefully, really engaged with our staff and sort of figuring out if this works for them. If it does, and they have all the right components and they want to continue on this, they could join. We have something called the Rural Innovation Network, which is
mm,
this community of practice
mm.
that, if they have all sort of the right pieces, they can join and then, learn from other communities across the country and just sort of like have this sort of as their, top of mind, and have us as a partner as they, work through what are probably really huge, hurdles
Yeah.
that they need to navigate around and address.
Now you said it earlier, it's not an easy process, right? You are tackling some really massive problems, or really opportunities for creation, for local economy to impact jobs, things of that nature. So you're impacting lives, which is a great thing. So if people wanted to get involved in some way, shape, or form, what does that look like? Other than donating to the organization to support you guys, which I think is really important because we know nonprofits are up against it when it comes to funding these days. So if you're out there listening to this thing, you've got a nice check that has 7 figures on it, dump it on my friends at Corey, please. They need it. But how else can people get involved if they're interested in learning or volunteering? What are the opportunities to be engaged with Corey?
Yeah, so I mean, I think the easiest thing is like things like sign up for the newsletter. We do a lot. We also do a lot of video or content in general.
Yeah,
So
ton of
stay
content.
engaged that way. Telling these stories and
Mm,
that type of thing. We host webinars, we
mm.
produce research. And so we want people just to be really engaged. And then if you if we think there's like a partnership opportunity, it doesn't even need to be someone from a rural community, other organizations somehow. Like, we do like actively engage with other organizations that, might be a really good partner that maybe it helps both of the, orgs,
Yeah.
new audiences. So that's a couple ways people can engage. You can always just
Where
like, email.
I mean, look, clearly for me, it's about the baton, right? You're telling your story about what Corey does, the impact you've made in a variety of, 40 some odd communities in and around the country, expansion of that. You had this big conversation, it's starting to swell a little bit, right? But it's never, there's all little nooks and crannies of this country that probably need the help. So what's the easiest way for people to find you all? Probably go to your website. What's your website
Our
address?
website, Rural Innovation.
Excellent. And if people want to connect with you directly to talk about your work and connect, what can they do that?
Email me,
Email.
emily.wood@ruralinnovation.us.
Yeah.
Or
I was
find
hoping
me
you're going to say, just Google me. Just
just
Google
Google.
me and
I
find
don't know,
me.
there's a lot of Emily Woods out there. It might be
Well, there's
a
only
stick.
one that's pushing innovation in the rural, and that's you. And that's you, my friend. Any last advice? How about what was actually one last question for you? I always throw a curveball at people that I interview. All right. If you were to give a little bit of advice, professional advice, not personal advice, to your young 21-year-old self, what would it be? Yeah. Because I'm sure I would give myself advice, but it would not have nothing other than network my tail off and meet a bunch of people and grow my network early. There's other things I would tell my younger self at 21 years old that has nothing to do with my profession, but that's for another conversation another day. But professionally, it could be nothing. It could be like, hey, enjoy the ride. Who knows, right?
Definitely and enjoy the ride. I'd also say, like, don't get fixated on a career path. Like, don't think that just because you went to school for this or you thought you were gonna be X, that that's where you're gonna thrive. And I'd say that to myself now. Like, don't get fixated on it. There's only one career path, that there's only one way to do this, there's only one place to work, that will get you to be successful, as well as, like, what is success?
Mm.
That's the other thing. I think, when I was in my early 20s, it's like, of course, I'm going to be super successful at my job. And not that I'm not successful in my career, but there's a lot of other cool stuff going on in my, in life, that take advantage of that too.
Mm-hmm.
Don't make, judge, or, gauge your success on just your career. Go find something interesting, something that you like to do every day, and then go have fun in life, because
Yeah.
more important.
Love that. I agree. If you can find a job and you can find a career that you love and you work with good people
Yeah,
and you help them out, it is work, but it's not really work. I would
exactly.
agree with you. My
Agree.
point of view on that aligns exactly the same way. Put people around you that you trust, network your tail off, meet people, support them. I've been talking a lot lately about relationship equity, right? How much time can I spend and give people value, regardless if we're hiring or not? Like, for example, for those that don't know, I've worked with Corey in the last handful of months, and she's looking for videographers and lined her up with some folks that I had in my network. And it just, you meet people throughout life, whether you're out to dinner or you're friends or people. And, I think that just, the lesson here is every career path is messy. If it's
Yeah.
scripted, you're either probably a royal and you have to be the queen at some point, but it's all messy. It's about learning, adjusting, and enjoying the ride. And when you land, I don't know, for me, the light bulb turns on. It sounds like, you had that moment at some point in your career, like, I'm not here, but I'm here, which is still kind of cool.
Fine. Another thing I'd say is make sure you have a good group of, your advisors around you who
Good
give you
call.
a good gut check. Like, have a couple people that will be like,
Yeah.
or no, go do this. Like, or you're not insane. I mean, that's what I use my table of advisors for, is to tell me
Good
I'm not
call.
losing my mind.
You're absolutely right.
Have a good group of people that you can talk about work to, that may or may not actually work with you or be in similar careers, but that you can like bounce ideas off, and also have like a little bit.
Yeah, good call. Have your wing buddy, right? To have that
Yep,
person you can just kind
exactly.
of check you from time to time, right?
Yep.
Good stuff. Well, Emily, congratulations on pulling that event together. I know that you were stressed out about it. It was quick sprint, but you nailed it. Seemed to be run successful. Congratulations on the work at Corey, doing incredible work across the country. If you don't know what they're doing, hopefully you got a gist of that today. Hit their website, which is, yet again, give me the website one more time.
Ruralinnovation.
Okay, and please find Emily, connect with her. Smart, creative, knows comms, messy career like the rest of us, but we're all in places that we love because we're meeting good people doing incredible work. Thank you for joining me on the PR Bunker, sharing some insights here, and I wish you all and folks at Corey nothing but the best success. And by the way, again, to my $1 million donor that happens to be out there, just give Emily a call. They need the support because rural innovation needs that kind of financial and financial support, and also folks like you that can kind of help carry that flag into those little corners of the country.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you for joining this episode of the PR Bunker podcast. I appreciate you stopping by, and I appreciate the work that Emily and her team at the Center on Rural Innovation is doing in the various pockets of our community and our country to bring innovation, technology, and conversations around AI to the various corners of our community here, hyper-locally, regionally, and nationally. Again, check them out. Visit their website, follow on socials. And if you have anybody that's interested in getting involved in Corey, please reach out to us. We're happy to make a connection. Love this organization, doing incredible work. But thanks again for stopping by for the PR Bunker podcast. You can catch us on any of your streaming services, and clearly you can go to prbunker.com to check out all the content and tips on communications, public relations, networking, and other things that relate to my world, or my little corner of the world down here in the bunker, as we say it. So appreciate again you stopping by, listening in. Feel free to subscribe and tell people about the bunker. And if you are running a nonprofit or are in communications, feel free to reach out. I'd love to interview people and tell their stories as well. So thanks again for stopping by the bunker. See you next time.